It automatically
Remix. 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 Remix.
How are you this wonderful Friday morning?
I can't, y'all. Listen. It's like all the things that could go wrong at the same time all go wrong. And so look, we we we're doing what we can, right? Like listen. No, we're live, JF. Just so you know, like we're live. We're live.
I'm
And
awake. We are live. Go to the Jared thing. It was like, no, we're not live. We're not live.
So listen. There was a list of things that went wrong between yesterday and the day before yesterday.
Mhm.
And that includes Air Doctor not having access to his phone when we were trying to let him know what was going on. And so people couldn't, your normal Friday crew, nobody could do today. And once I realized that the chat was already going to be live and asking where everybody was, yes, Air Doctor's fine.
Yes.
Once it hits 8:00 and the chat is live, you can't start running a rerun. Like that's just like you can, like technically you can, but I feel like it would be a bad idea that people are waiting for us to start, and then what starts is a rerun.
It's not
I
great.
just feel like that's not the way to go, right?
Yeah.
And so what y'all are gonna get is oh shit, let me see if Evan's awake, which he wasn't.
I wasn't.
And so but he took my call anyway, which I gotta say I appreciate. I appreciate that I'm asleep, but Renee's calling, so let me answer the phone list. That's appreciated.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And and so Evan and I decided like we're gonna do it. We're gonna freak it. We figure it out. I ran in my house. I haven't even taken my cafe off yet. So, but we're rolling. We're rolling. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, Evan. Were you having pleasant dreams when I woke you up?
It was more like someone threw a brick through a window, and you wake up. I'm a very rough. The way it has been described is like an old computer, like old desktop where it's like the lights are blinking, you turn it on, the lights are blinking, you hear stuff whirring in the background and slowly comes on. Like that's how I wake up. So it's more abrupt as it was this morning. It takes a little bit more for me to get it going, but yeah, man.
Poor Evan got the Renee's been up for an hour and a half, Renee. So I was like, good morning.
Oh man. And I could just hear it. Like I'm just seeing your name on the call. I was like, okay, something's wrong. Something's very wrong for me to have gotten this call. Let me pick up. But
I appreciate you though, because I can't do it like doing the alone show thing. I don't know how anybody does that.
Oh yeah, if it had been by yourself make this work, it would be like I can't. It's not going.
Yeah.
someone to talk to.
Yeah. And so I appreciate you. But so what would you have been doing? Like, I'm curious now. Like, do you get up at like 10?
I would have gotten up in another hour and gotten ready for some like internal meetings that I have. I'm involved with like an organization I'm helping to transfer into a worker cooperative. So Erica. Okay, also for the chat, for some reason, I cannot type into the chat. Like I can see y'all typing, but I don't have a little thing where I can type. So when I see people I know, like Ricky,
So I'll tell you my little secret trick. Because when you're on and you type in the chat, you're on as whoever you've logged in as. So if you don't have if you're not logged in as your Google account, you can't respond in the chat anyway. And so
okay.
What Ricky man. So what I do actually is I open the show in another tab and I pop out the chat. So the chat is actually next to the screen, like living on its own. So that way I can answer as me in the actual chat, but I can see what's going on, like, on the screen. Okay, so this is why, like, during the show, when I answer people in the chat, I'm answering as me. It's because my actual YouTube is open and the chat is popped out and next to the screen.
Got it.
So that's the little trick. I don't know how. I think some people have like multiple screens. Like I think Jared has like one monitor that's on the actual YouTube, and then he's got the monitor, but I ain't got all that. So
I came on early. I'm always on like a little early because I would be anxious otherwise. So when I got on Tuesday, I was like, hey, like ear doctor, I don't have like a little thing at the bottom. Like, can you help me? He was like, oh no, I don't even know. I was like, all right. He's a mess.
I can't.
So I'll be able to respond next
time. So you can, so I just that's what, because I like being in the chat, right? Like the chat is funny.
Yeah, the chat is funny. The chat is also
undefeated.
It is undefeated, and because I have cameras in the chat that hold me accountable. I feel like I need to be able to respond. Honestly, my brain does not work that fast. Like when I'm watching the show and just like trying to like keep up with the conversation on the show and then like type in, like I can do it for like the first 30 minutes and like just get tired. It's too much. Yeah. So this is next level because I'm actually on screen trying to do it, but it's all good. It's all good. We'll figure it out.
It takes a little bit of adjustment. It does take a little bit of adjustment, but it's all.
And the show does save the chat does save the show every time.
100%.
That's true.
100%. That is not incorrect. So I don't, as y'all know, for all the jokes that's about to happen, y'all know I'm pushing no buttons. So we're not gonna have no slick like, button pushing stuff. I figured out how to pull up articles, so we can do some of that. We can do some of that, but otherwise, we just gonna have to, we'll just roll with stuff. But do you have the run sheet? Because as you know, I also was not here on Tuesday because my first world problems were kicking my ass and I just couldn't do it. But
no, it's all good. I do have the run sheet open.
Okay, is there something you want to start with?
Saw Nancy Pelosi might retire finally.
No, she said she's definitely retiring. Now she said this the last time, so.
Right, yeah, I was like, this sounds familiar.
Yeah. That's because it is. It's because it is. Yeah.
Okay, so this U.S. Transport Secretary warns of mass chaotic government shutdown continues. I mean, we're already in historically the longest government shutdown in history, which is kind of crazy. And I remember seeing this. The U.S. Transport Secretary just was warning of mass chaos. Let me just pull this up from Al Jazeera.
Yeah.
I was coming from Houston, like from that wedding over the weekend, and I barely missed this. Like like the line was like out the door, and we were kind of confused. We were like, "Yo, like what's going on?" It was very clearly chaotic, and it wasn't until we like actually got through the flight, got back home that we realized it was how bad it was, and TSA workers had gone on strike or had not come in. And later flights, I think if we'd taken a later flight, I think we would have not made it home, or we would have missed our flight. All right.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff going on. They were talking about so now that they've reduced the air traffic, right? They picked 40 locations, and they're reducing each of the 40 by 10% to clear the air, supposedly.
If I put it in the chat, can you pull it up?
I should be able to. Yeah.
All right. What else is in there?
Okay. Did I do that right? Look at me pushing a button. All right. U.S. Transport Secretary warns of mass chaos if government shutdown prolongs. There have already been numerous flight delays. I did see a video. Was that Houston where the people were like outside, lined up outside of the airport? That was, now this all makes so much more sense. That's wild.
We were outside panicking about and we did not it was so early, like I hadn't looked at anything, so I had no idea what was going on until much later. But yeah, like it was very chaotic. We came in and they were doing some weird thing where they had to they literally stopped us and snaking the line all the way through in front of us, and then when they paused them, they would let us go through, and we had to go all the way outside and then start coming back in and then go through security. So my partner was very sure that we would not make it. I was like, it'll be okay. I was like, in my head, I was like, I don't know, we might not make this one.
That's crazy. All right, so Sean Duffy says there could be chaos in the skies if the shutdown drags on. Air traffic controllers miss a second paycheck. I'd like everybody to just remember that part of the reason the air traffic control has been a mess for decades is because Ronald Reagan fired 13,000 people. Made his comments on Tuesday, dragged into the 35th day. Evan, do you by chance know, is this the longest shutdown in history? Do we know? It's hit that mark?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, but I'm pretty sure this is the longest shutdown officially.
Wild. Already been numerous delays. Last weekend, some of the worst staff shortages, and on Sunday, flights at Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey were delayed for several hours. I don't know why they say that Newark always be running on time even before the shutdown. But okay, whatevs. Everyone's warned that the situation will only get worse. FAA employees already missed one paycheck on October 28th. Their next is scheduled for Tuesday. So they get paid every other week then, right? Is it every other week, or is it the 1st and 15th? No, because next Tuesday's not the 15th.
Yeah, I think it's every other week.
Many of the controllers said a lot of us can navigate missing one paycheck. Not everybody, but a lot of us can. None of us can manage missing two paychecks.
Right.
So if you bring us to a week from today, Democrats, so why you got to name the Democrats like they're doing this alone? You will see mass chaos. You will see mass flight delays. You see mass cancellations. This is Duffy talking. Apologies, y'all. Sorry, I'm trying to read this as I don't normally have to do the reading part. So if you bring us to 1 week from today, Democrats, you will see mass chaos, you will see mass flight delays, you will see mass cancellations, and you see us close certain parts of the airspace because we just cannot manage it because we don't have air traffic controllers. 50% were on time. 1932 flight delays across the U.S. That's lower than what is typical. Y'all stop messing with me. You see that? Oh Lord, that is hysterical. Staffing shortages are also an issue. So, I mean, in the end, right? Like all said and done, I love that they are still trying to just act like this is all Democrats, right? As
Yeah,
I've
literally.
like said over and over and over again, this government, this duopoly in our government, it is two cheeks of the same ass. Like they don't, they do not do anything without the agreement of the other. Like no matter what they tell you about what is happening, they are working together behind the scenes, and they are all very well and clear of the chaos that is happening, and they just don't care. You know why? Because they're all flying private.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care if the public they don't care if the public airspaces get shut down. They don't care if the airports are, slow. They don't care if flights are delayed. They don't care if people can't get to their like they don't care about any of this stuff because they're able to travel as they want on their private airspaces.
I mean, they're literally still being paid, right? Like,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like they're literally still being paid. I mean, which is wild, right? Like, I feel like if there's a bare minimum, if you shut down the government, you shouldn't be paid anymore.
You would think.
But Devin Dean said the shutdown feels like more things are going to get privatized, and I think that's absolutely right. I think this is also part of the typical Republican kind of Republican or neoliberal kind of strategy of just defunding public institutions, and then say like, see how bad this is. It doesn't work. It's like because you defunded it, and then they go to try to privatize it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the kind of overarching plan.
Yeah, yeah.
As much as it is just like they don't care, as much as it is just immiserating people, for no reason. Yeah, and I think this also reminds me of the fact that like, okay, SNAP benefits have already gone, right? And I remember we did that article a while back of this like lone billionaire donor that donated to the inauguration fund, Trump's inauguration fund,
Mm-hmm.
specifically so that what am I trying to say? National Guard people were getting paid, right? So it's bad enough that you won't feed people, right, with SNAP, but the fact that also this money, like, you don't want the FAA, you don't want the FAA to like work, or you don't want like you could also do that in this situation, but it just kind of drives home this point that the ruling class really only cares about the people outside protecting them with guns, but everything else can kind of go away. Everything else can waste away, which is exactly what they're letting happen.
Right. And Esme, not all planes are privatized and not all airlines are privatized, and air traffic control is a federal job. Mm-hmm. TSA is a federal job. So all the things that allow the planes to go are not privatized, and that's why the federal shutdown is the problem. But it's interesting. So Revolutionary Women's Radio also noted, with holidays approaching, I'm curious if they're willing to lose all the money from people traveling. At the same time, maybe this will help folks stay home, save their coins. Boycott. Ricky Ryan properly addressed and said that subsidies, like they'll save the airlines, like they save the banks. This is what they do,
just like they did during COVID, right? Like all those bailouts, like they'll find them. Like, first off, they have the money, and they will apply it to make sure that those corporations don't go under, to save them, or to really make sure that people have golden parachutes or what have you, right? Like, they'll figure it out for them.
Yeah, they'll make sure that they're still able to go. And regarding like Congress still getting paid, people should understand that while Congress all this time has failed to give people health care, they have free health care for life. Right? So the fact that they're still getting paid is actually just like this is like commonplace. They have access to all of the things that the people they represent do not have access to. Yeah. So, so this is this is all par for the course, right? Like this is what they do. They don't care about regular people. And once you get into Congress, and Ricky's right, the majority of Congress are millionaires. And part of the reason they're millionaires is because they're in Congress.
And able to, as Nancy Pelosi does, do insider trading, which apparently is called capitalism, which of course they'll never, regulate or ensure that people can't do. So yeah, it just has insult to injury, right? Because not only are the majority of the millionaires, right, that means that they definitely don't need to be getting paid anyway.
Right. Like they are actually the people who could afford to miss their paychecks, and they're not going to miss their paychecks.
I love people do. I know this is facetious, but say it's like, Renee, is this communism and socialism?
I mean, it's socialism for the rich, because they living off all, they're still making all their stuff off of federal funds. Like their literal paycheck comes from federal funding.
It's true.
Literally. Yeah.
I feel like I know I understand what you mean by the socialism of the rich, but I feel like we also gotta be like, no, it's just capitalism. It's just the way the
it is just capitalism.
Hoovers up and takes all the resources for themselves. Because even what is meant by that socialism for the rich is that the rich get all their needs met. The rich get this parachute. The rich get this safety net, right, and government funding, et cetera, right? So I get the point. And
I'm also just being an asshole because the whole thing is like we live in a shithole place where you have millions of people who are unable to get the things that they're supposed to get. And then here we are that the people who have caused the situation, they're all okay. They're able to fly, they're able to eat, they're able to get their paychecks, they're able to get health care. They're able to get all the stuff that they need done. And none of those things exist for the regular people who they quote unquote represent, right? Like it is definitely all capitalism, y'all. I'm being an asshole when I say it's socialism for the rich. I'm being an asshole.
Oh man. But no, yeah, okay. So we got that one. And just related, they rejected, the Senate recently rejected a funding package because all of this is going down to the the subsidies. Democrats wanting to maintain healthcare subsidies within the bill, and the Republicans keep trying to kind of like just remove it, and that's the sticking point, that they're on. So the Senate continues to reject those funding packages. So like that's just ongoing. I haven't heard anything about like any kind of deals or any kind of movement. So it just feels like they're both kind of just playing chicken at this point.
Right. Because this works, like this works for them.
Yeah.
Right. Like all of this chaos allows them to just keep on collecting money and to move things around the way they want to move them. And I was listening to WBAI this morning. As you all know, I'm prone to do in the mornings. And it was, I'm about to blank on his, Bob Henley, who is one of their, he's one of the investigative reporters. He's been doing union and labor reporting for decades, right? And his theory, and I'm inclined to agree because it's actually something that I've talked about with other people, is that the goal of all of this is to create enough chaos and turmoil that there can be a true military takeover of the country, right? Because as people don't have food, don't have access to things they need, can't get medical care, can't travel because there's literally very much, there could be a point where people are just like enough, and then everybody starts wilding out, right? Now, is that really what'll happen? I don't know. I can't say that it'll get pushed that far. But this is literally like sowing the seeds of chaos just to see how far they can push the citizens, the people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just want to shout out again from Ricky. This is a capitalist settler colonial society, so austerity policies and fascism are consistent. Absolutely. Always. And there was this other there was a really awesome, so I know Ricky saw it because I saw it on her stories, but there was a really awesome episode from Rev Left. Shout out to threat over there. He did I can't remember the guest name, but it's some guest who's like a teacher, I think maybe social studies or teacher who does like public classroom. And he did a show, a really awesome show about neoliberalism from like Reagan to Trump. And just talking about kind of like the advent of neoliberalism, which I thought was really good, really clarifying in terms of like defining what it is, and explaining how like post Reagan, and it kind of started essentially also started a little bit with Carter, but particularly Reagan kind of institutionalizing it, and then going from there, how every president, Democrat or Republican, has continued those neoliberal policies in some way. And they talked about that meme of like, you know, every president after is like some version of Reagan. So like Reagan's classic Reagan, and then like Obama's like I think eloquent Reagan.
Elegant Reagan. That's great, eloquent Reagan.
George W. Bush is like stupid Reagan, something like that, right? But like I think the point is helpful and does stand right in that you know, these like neoliberal policies are designed to kind of like have this outcome, and even from the foundation of this country, which him as a history teacher was kind of pointing out, like. And I think this frustrates all of us and us in the chat, right? Like when people are just like, you know, oh, this is not who we are. This is not the country. Like this is not what we were. You know, this is not what our fathers meant, right? But it actually is, right? It's actually. I think it was James Madison he quoted, but one of the quote unquote founding fathers had a quote of like, the point of the government is to protect like the wealthy from like everybody else. Like I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that is the quote. So. Yeah, man, like this has always been the goal, and this is very much like the velvet glove, iron fist type situation, right? So, you know, since after World War II, right, like capitalism just has not been able to kind of provide the type of growth, the type of you know, lifestyle, right, that like has made it so like produce this propaganda essentially around the United States being this kind of shining city on a hill, quote unquote, or this place of opportunity, quote unquote. And they're just writing that out, right? And that is very clearly, you know, petering out, going away. All that will be left, right? Like as they continue to lose ideological legitimacy, as we've seen with the genocide, right? As people continue to like not be able to provide for themselves, despite having degrees, despite having advanced degrees, right?
Right.
You know, like all that will be left, right, is the police state, right? Is the police-ification of the military, as Dr. CBS says, right? You know, so yeah, I mean, like, I think we'll just have more of this. I mean, and the cop cities are a part of that, as you've, you know, very astutely went out and done that research around. But yeah, like this is all they have, right? Like they don't have another, you know, method. And I think at least with the duopoly, right, I do think there's something from the, I imagine like the typical democratic strategist, right? Them thinking, yeah, this is all good for us, right? This is all they're just able to kind of win a bunch of elections, right? They're able to, you know, because they're not controlling the House and Congress, that they can kind of say, you know, like we, you know, this is all Republicans, right? So it's
right, and that's the game they play, right? And I always like to point out to people that when Obama won in 2008, they had a super majority. They could have did whatever they wanted to do, and his response literally was, well, we have to play nice with the Republicans. Like we need a bipartisan Congress. And so they didn't push through any of the stuff that was going to be problematic, quote unquote problematic for their supposed relationship with the Republican Party. And so when, you know, people get mad at me for saying that all these assholes are the same, you know, it's not because I don't recognize the like truly drastic and chaotic situation that is happening right now. It's because I recognize that the reason it's happening right now is because none of them do anything, right? Like none of them do anything to alleviate any of the issues that are happening when they have the ability to do so. And so if you are complicit in the disasters that happen while you have the power to do something different, then you are just as bad as the people who actively work to create more chaos. So,
right. Yeah, and just to plus one of that, and then that episode that I was just talking about on Rev Left, Ricky was just highlighting that does pair well with a piece that Ajamu just wrote. I'm pretty sure it's in Bar on the names fascism being born in Europe, from the colonies, not Europe, right? Which is again an ABC Zero point, where like our radicals, our revolutionaries have been making this point over and over and over again. calls coming from
Right.
inside the house, right? You know, so yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's
And
important.
that just reminded me that I still have not. I'm like, yo, this whole house falling apart, this first world problem of like needing a new roof has really destroyed like my ability to function as a person. It was so loud in this house and so much chaos happening. I'm like behind. I need to send Ricky an email so that she can connect me to Ajamu, because now that is a really good, it's a good that like maybe these are this is one of the conversations we need to do on a Saturday, is to really kind of deep dive into like what this all really means and how it is what it is. Josh, listen. Listen.
Boy, you know what? Dope little picture. I see the picture, but I don't appreciate it. I don't.
Look,
I'm mad at you
look.
otherwise.
We got you, Josh. We figured it out. It was a little bit of a chaos. It was a little bit of a chaos, but we figured it out. And I will let Josh let people know why he's not here this morning. I won't shout out his personal business, but
Yeah,
there
no,
was
no
a
need for
reason. And Josh, shout out to you. I hope everything goes well.
Yeah, for real, Josh, for real. It's funny because people know me in the chat and know that I should not be on here three mornings a week. So, you know, that's what y'all know.
Look, this is what happens, man. This is
to support.
But you know, I appreciate that you took the call. I really mean it. I really mean it. Because you could have been like, man, I'll sleep. I ain't messing with this broad this morning. So I appreciate that you
Nah, man. I feel sometimes I feel guilty if I left you hanging like that.
All right. So what else should we talk about?
Okay, so there is AI. There's this thing from the New Yorker, AI prophets, drought, and the lessons of history. So I do want to touch on this one, even though I have not read it. I think that this might kind of work well with all of your conversations with Dwayne Monroe, who's excellent. You might want to bring that element. I'm just going to plot it out because they're just at least these two I want to touch on. So I want to touch on this one, the AI story, and then I want to touch on this top military lawyer that got arrested in Israel.
Yeah, because that's something.
Yeah,
that's
we should talk about it. So,
all right, are you going to read this one? You got it?
Yeah, I can read this one. So let me give you 1 second. I'm just going to read it from my screen also because.
All right, cool.
Okay, so the AI prophets drought and the lessons of history, like the steam engine, electricity, and computers, generative artificial intelligence could take longer than expected to transform the economy, right? And I just want to state, right, this article, it's a New York article, of course. It is starting from the premise that this is something that would fundamentally change our economy or our society. And I would disagree with that just off rip. I would agree with somebody like Dwayne Monroe, who would say, one, it's not capable of doing that, and this is not the society to do that. But also, I would say that, like, and I know this is a point that Jared always makes: technology does not change social relationships; it layers upon top of them. So whatever technology comes out, whatever is produced by as a part of collective production, will be used to further immiserate us and all that other stuff. So anyway. In a 1987 article in the Times Book Review, Robert Solow, a Nobel-winning economist at MIT, commented, "You can see the computer age everywhere, but in the productivity statistics, you can see the computer age everywhere, but in the productivity statistics. Jeez. Despite massive increases in computing power and the rising popularity of personal computers, government figures showed that overall output per worker, a key determinant of wages and living standards, had stagnated for more than a decade. The productivity paradox, as it came to be known, persisted into the 1990s and beyond, generating a huge and inconclusive body of literature. Some economists blame mismanagement of the new technology. Others argue that computers paled in economic importance compared to older inventions such as the steam engine and electricity. So others blame measurement errors in the data and argue that once these were corrected, the paradox disappeared. Okay, I gotta read from here now. Nearly 40 years after Solow's article, and almost 3 years since OpenAI released its ChatGPT chatbot, we may be facing a new economic paradox, this one involving generative artificial intelligence, according to a recent study a recent survey carried out by economists at Stanford, Clemson, and the World Bank in June and July of this year. Almost half of all workers, that's 45.6% to be precise, were using AI tools. And yet a new study from a team of researchers associated with MIT's Media Lab reports that despite 30 to 40 billion in enterprise investment into Gen AI, this report uncovers a surprising result that 95% of organizations are getting zero return. I'm going to do one more paragraph and then we can discuss. The study's authors examined more than 300 public AI initiatives and announcements and interviewed more than 50 company executives. They defined a successful AI investment as one that had been deployed beyond the pilot phase and had generated some measurable financial return or marked gain in productivity after 6 months. Quote, just 5% integrated AI pilots are extracting millions in value, while the vast majority remain stuck with no measurable P&L, profit and loss, quote, impact, they wrote. Yeah. So, I mean, essentially this is just explaining from the New Yorker's perspective, the thing that like Dwayne Monroe has been calling out very consistently, right? They are not able to make money from this. Most
Right.
of these AI projects are not producing a return. And this is a gigantic bubble. So
I mean,
yeah.
and in the end, I think people, and again, like shout out to Dwayne Monroe, because I don't know that I would be fully clear on this if I was not involved in conversations with him and watching him talk to different people. But like this whole AI thing is a scam, right? Like it's literally a grift. Like they're telling you how great AI is and how much use it can have, and they're investing all this money in it, and then they're basically like selling it to each other, is if I'm understanding it properly, and creating this like a really like this magical smoke and mirror thing that is supposed to be worth all this money, and it's not making any money. And the technology actually, to my understanding, sucks. Right? Like it works for some things, but there's a lot of these, a lot of this AI technology is not actually very useful. And part of the reason that I know that's the case is because almost all the time you can tell when someone's using it. Right? Like if AI was really, if ChatGPT was really this thing that was like world changing, you wouldn't know you wouldn't know that somebody was using AI to write your papers. Right? Like it's very clear when someone's using AI. And so is the whole thing is like wild. And then meanwhile, every company, every time you turn something on, is trying to convince you to use whatever version of AI they have that exists for their particular thing. And it has nothing to do with actually doing anything useful, right? Like the AI is not doing anything for regular people.
As Dwayne always says, right? Like just having a chatbot is not necessarily helpful for people. Like no one,
right.
People don't just need a chatbot. Also, we had Clippy. I don't know. Like I feel like we're keep doing this. We're gonna keep doing this. So Renee, I don't know if you've seen the chat from Mr. Sean.
I was just about to answer him because I'm not caught up yet on the show.
Okay.
So Mr. Sean says, do you think there's an overlap of dialogue between what's being discussed here and Davon Love's last statement on the surge of Black power? I mean, listen, I very, very rarely does Davon Love say anything that is not worth like examination and follow-up conversation. So I'm not, the answer to the question is probably, but I actually have not watched the show yet. I'm not caught up, so I don't want to speak specifically to it because I really just don't have an answer because I just haven't watched it yet. So this is interesting though. So Poncho said is getting more college papers written than ever before. But are they good college papers is the question of the day. Like are they Are they college papers that are going to lead to some actual, like, real life discourse? You know, because if I understand it properly, based on conversations with Dwayne, like, you can only get back what the system already has there, like what's already in the memory. So you're not going to get any, you're not going to get anything that's really going to be like, oh, this is a new way to see something, because you can't have something new based on information that's being pulled from all old shit.
Yes. Yeah, man. The way these systems work is that they are large models that are trained on a range of content, right? So oftentimes, like when people talk about the way in which, right, the kind of like inherent biases that these systems have, it's because they are built, right? Like decisions are made along this entire production process, right? So like overwhelmingly white men, right, are building these systems and training them on things that are culturally relevant or resonant with them, right? And then build the technology on top of that, right? So that's like the technology, like that's what it's pulling from often, right? And not to mention like these algorithms are often like black boxes, like you don't actually know exactly how it's working.
Right.
And there have been a lot of historical, a lot of ongoing issues with the way in which sexism and racism are embedded into these programs, as they like relate to kind of cameras, right? They're not very accurate when it comes to understanding Black and brown people's faces, and I mean, we wouldn't want them to, but it does mean that, like, they'll have these targeting systems, and then cops will be calling people, and it's because they had they got like a wrong reading, or like it just mistook them for someone else.
Right. Or mistook the Cheetos bag that the kid is eating in front of the school building as him holding a gun. That happens too.
Yes.
Right.
So I mean, that is how these systems work. And so they can only, as Renee said, they can only pull from what they have, right? And there's like a specific time limit. So oftentimes, if you ask an AI or a chat bot or one of these programs around like what's happening right now, like it won't like, my information only goes up to this date, and I can't help you beyond that. So even in that way, like they're very limited, right? But I think it is really disturbing because I have a nephew. Like, kids are being encouraged by their teachers to use these tools to help them with papers, right? So you want to talk about like a literacy crisis that's ongoing in this country with all the way up to adults. And like I remember, what it was like learning in school. Like, this is how you write an essay, right? You have an introductory paragraph, you have a supporting paragraph, two or three supporting paragraphs, and you have a conclusion, right? Even that kind of structure is, kids are losing that because they're not actually having to like go through that process. And if you ask them for like even to write a paragraph, they can get really frustrated, right? And I'm sure Renee, like about this as well. You've probably seen this, in your work. But like it was only because, at least for my nephew, it was only because he reached out to his aunt, right, my partner, and was like, because his mom told him to, probably. He was like, my told me to use this this AI tool to write this paper. Like, should I? And she coached him. She was like, thoughtfully, like, well, do you need it to, right? Like, could you write this paper without it? And he was like, well, yeah. She's like, so why would you use this thing? And she was like, and he's because my teacher told me to, So I know that, Dwayne also was on Millennials Are Killing Capitalism talking about AI into the classroom and the education, kind of that topic. So go check that out. But AI is intentionally being marketed to teachers, right? Not just in terms of like grading, right? And like making their lives, quote unquote, easier as teachers, to like teach the kids. It's like an intervention to teach the kid. Like, you don't even need the teacher, right?
Right.
And it is, it is, she adores you too, Ricky. She's always saying, she's always like, Erica doesn't say anything. That whenever Erica says things, I always agree. But yeah, man, I mean, this is like, again, this is all an example of, right, how technology is being used to layer onto existing inequity, right? and to produce a world, right, for owners, for those who own the economy, where they don't have to worry about workers, right? Where they can say like, oh, we have a couple of AI chatbots in the schools, we need half the teachers, you know,
Right.
or we've trained this group of children to not think critically, to be able to just kind of take what AI spits out, right? And now they're going to be perfect workers for, you know, all of these low paying
Right.
jobs that have like lined up for them, you
Right.
know?
And my complaint about AI, and you know, I said this when we had Dwayne on, you know, is that there could be a purpose for AI where it actually does something that's useful, right? Like, you know, if you can split, and Ricky says, I want to say though, as it relates to my child, those tools in the school have been helpful.
Right.
And if you're trying to narrow down a list, or you need information that's all over the internet and you need it compiled in one place, like, there are definitely ways that the technology could be useful. The problem is that the technology is limited by the people who are attempting to profit from it, right? And so once the limitation is based on who is trying to profit, it stops being about what's useful, right? Because profit don't give a shit about what's useful, right? Capitalism don't give a shit about what's useful, right? So there's no space for it to actually serve the purpose of the things that it needs to serve. I heard Professor Wolf was on with Jordan Sheridan on Status Quo, and he gave this example about AI, and I was like, that's, you know, I think that's actually a pretty good example. And he said, if you have a business and you discover that technology, AI, can reduce the workload in half, right? Like, you can get the same amount of work done with half the amount of physical labor from your labor force. He was like, the way to utilize that so that it benefits everybody is you allow your workers to work half the amount of time, get their same pay, right? You keep your workforce, they make the same amount they were making, and they get to go home earlier every day and do things that they give a shit about, right? And then now you have utilized that technology in a way, you keep your same level of profit, everybody keeps their paychecks, everybody keeps their jobs, but they're able to go do things that they actually maybe wouldn't have time to do, you know? But instead, what happens in our society is they fire half the workers, right? And now you have half the people working the same crazy amount because you have the technology to make up for the other half, and then you charge more money for whatever it is that you're producing, right?
Yes.
So, you know, I've always appreciated Professor Wolf, and I thought that was really a great way to show, like, if we were not so run by these ghouls who don't care about the lives of other people, right? Like, we could actually, like, some of this could be useful, but it's never going to be, you know, it's never going to be about that because we are run by ghouls.
Right. And that is, I mean, that is the difference between an economy that is owned and operated for the benefit of masses of people versus one that is our economy where it's owned and operated for the benefit of like a small group of people that own everything.
Right.
Yeah, like if we had a system where the technology, like, it's, yes, the technology is neutral in the sense of it has, like, you know, theoretically a neutral function. I mean, I'm wiping away just like what everything I said about like how it's programmed, how it's designed, right? Because those design decisions do make it so that it's not quite neutral, but I just, for the sake of argument, right?
Right.
We have a technology in place, right? But how that gets used, right, is dependent on, like, you know, as you said, right, like who is making those decisions, right? And if there were, right, the situation where you know, say a collective owned, you know, or ran a business and had AI, right, like they would use it that way, right? They would use it that way because it would benefit everyone.
Right.
And I know somebody in the chat mentioned Timnit Gebru, who is I know.
Oh yeah,
AI
I just pulled the name up. Yeah. Well, I'll definitely look into that. We've got like a list of things coming. So I gotta get myself. I gotta get myself straightened out.
I literally wrote a paper when I was coming out of my MBA. I wrote a paper on. This is when I was getting very disillusioned with that education. So I was doing an independent study, but it was all about how technology was used to track and suppress and oppress Black people throughout the history of this country, right? Like technology has always been used for that. And I used Timnit's work, right? She used to work at Google and was pushed out because of all of the ethical considerations she bring up, which, they hate that. So, and then she kind of went on to kind of down this ethical AI kind of work. I have not followed her work more recently. Because she's the founder of Distributed Artificial Intelligence Research Institute. It might be interesting for us to talk to her. I don't know what her
I was just about to say to you, can you send me, could you share that paper with me? Would you mind?
Yes, I can't. I wouldn't mind. And it was, I have been resistant to read it again because I'm sure there's liberalism in there. I was on my journey to where I am now politically, but
I'd love to. And then I can tap you in if I can get hold of her.
Okay.
And then we'll do that. So we were going to talk about the Israeli attorney that they've completely disappeared her at this point, have they not?
Oh, I just heard that she
didn't they detain and arrest her?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I'm sure they did.
Yeah, I mean, right.
Of course,
because this is what this is what we do. Hold on.
Yeah, man. So first of all, I'm not sure. Rape and sexual assault are systemic within the IOF, right? So that's the first thing to name. So I don't actually even know which incident this was talking about because I had not looked in detail. So I don't know if this is the one where we saw those monsters, with their shields up.
That's the one. That's the one.
He was, I believe, died of his injuries. Am I correct on that?
I actually did not know that. I knew that there were extensive injuries, injuries that could not be linked to anything but sexual assault, and but I was not aware that he succumbed to those. So that was
my understanding. I could be wrong, and this could be a different case, but I just that was the first thing I thought about. So either way, I can read this. Israel's top military lawyer arrested after she admitted leaking videos of soldiers' abuse. Right-wing politicians and pundits have called the soldiers accused of attack on Palestinian detainees heroes, and military investigators traitors. All right, just so we can set the stage for. Oh, and the detention of military advocate general. I can't say that name. Ifat Tomer. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Yerushalmi. Shalmi sounds like. Looks like.
Raises questions about the rule of law in Israel. Raises questions. Now they're okay. Police in Israel have arrested and detained the military's top legal officer after she admitted leaking footage of soldiers allegedly. Why is it allegedly? Soldiers allegedly attacking a Palestinian detainee and then, in effect, lying about her actions to Israel's high court. The military advocate general, Ifat, said in a resignation letter last week that she had authorized publication of the video to diffuse attacks on military investigators and prosecutors working the case. Right-wing politicians and pundits champion soldiers detained over the case as heroes, attack military investigators as traitors, and call for the case against the soldiers to be dropped. Tomer Yerushalmi has now been arrested on suspicion of fraud and breach of trust, abuse of office, obstruction of justice, and disclosure of official information by a public servant, Israeli media reported. All right. Her arrest and detention raised a series of questions about the rule of law in Israel, accountability for abuse and killing of Palestinians during what a UN commission has called a genocidal war, only them, and the country's ability to defend itself in international courts. In July 2024, prosecutors raided the Taman Military Detention Center, which has become notorious for torture, and detained 11 soldiers for interrogation. They were suspects in a violent assault on a Palestinian from Gaza, including anal rape. The victim was hospitalized with injuries including broken ribs, a punctured lung, and rectal damage, according to the indictment. And Tomer Yeshralami launched an investigation. The government and far-right politicians and pundits have accused her of damaging Israel's global standing by pursuing the case and releasing the video, in effect, costing her efforts to prosecute extreme violence as a project to undermine the state. Quote, the incident at said Tamin caused immense damage to the image of the state of Israel and the Israel Occupation Forces, IOF. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement on Sunday, this is perhaps the most severe public relations attack that the state of Israel has experienced since its establishment.
Yeah. I mean, so we have all kinds of issues happening here. One is this like absurd idea of like, we're investigating, we're looking into, like, right? Like this like very like opaque, loose, shadowy acknowledgement of the actual real terror, torture, assault, all the things that are happening due to the Israeli forces. And I want to point out how quickly, just so we're all clear, how quickly US mainstream media jumped on this idea that it was Hamas that was perpetrating all of, you know, this sexual assault as an act of war. And everyone jumped on that. No one researched it. No one did due diligence. No one, you know, they just went with the storyline that was given. But now when you actually have something on film that was submitted by an Israeli, that we're going to pretend as if like, well, you know, we have to look into this thing. And no one should be surprised that Israel is more concerned about the publication of this behavior than it is with the behavior. They don't think Palestinians are people, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just from a thorn in, I get it, thorn in empire, that's funny. There are about 500 children in Israeli prisons, right? So just like that, just to remember, right? Because I think, yeah, everything that you said, right? The way the media constantly is framing this, Israeli prisoners, or rather, Palestinian prisoners in Israeli dungeons are always prisoners. Israeli, quote unquote, hostages, right, are never framed as, you know, military reservists, right, or settlers, or virulent Zionists, whatever, I don't know, whatever you want to talk about, right? So, like, there's always that the framing always starts from like a false place, right? Always a false place. And even in this, right, the way this article is written is really, really bothersome, right? And then it's like alleged, and you know, it takes a while to get to like rape, right? The act of actual, like this kind of lighter language of assault, right? Did they beat him up, right? Like what happened? You know, it reminds me of, you know, there's so much here, but I think what I'm often reminded of whenever I think about the occupation forces, right, and the way in which they're brutalizing Palestinians, you know, is Oristami Burton's work, Tip of the Spear, right, which we did an internal kind of PE around for BAP in BAP DC, or BAP Mid Atlantic, excuse me, and it was very like I don't know, it's like a tough read, right? Like, but there's I remember one of the things that stick with me that will always stay with me from that reading is the way in which something he points out is that whenever we hear about torture, right, like we should always understand that rape and sexual assault is a part of that. It's like just implicit in that discussion, right?
Right.
Especially when we're talking about prisons, right? These dungeons, whether it be here in this settler colony or in that one, right? And I just think that there's a way, like, you know, for numerous reasons, right? Of course, like there's, you know, there are ways and there are reasons why people do not talk about this, right? But I think from the perspective of like us as like a movement, right, and organizers, people who want to like call this behavior out, right, and highlight it, like we need to be clear about what we're talking about. And I don't want to be so. I think there's a way in which we're like, because we're so sensitive is not the right word, and maybe apprehensive to like discuss that, we then provide cover for like this really heinous behavior, right, and allow it to kind of continue under the guise of torture, right? But when you, whether it be, I mean, Abu Ghraib, right? Like I remember that because I was much younger when that that information came out, and I remember it was just torture. It was never like the violent rape and sexual assault that was complicit in that, right? That was never discussed. Right. And I remember seeing something very recently around like another expose talking about how like somebody who was in detention in Abu Ghraib like heard people screaming every night from being sexually assaulted and raped, right? Like, so, I mean, I can't even imagine something so horrific, right? But like, I do think it's important for us to, one, just ground ourselves in that reality, right? That this is not a one-off thing. This is a systemic practice by these pigs, right? Like whether they be here or there, right? By, you know, I mean, it's inherent in like the settler colonial logic in of itself, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you know, and like in everything you said, right? Like this just clarifies, right, that it's not the issue for them. Is not the thing that not that it happened, right? It's that we know about it, right?
Right.
Like that's the issue. You know?
Right.
So yeah, man. I mean,
and they also like they threw in there like, you know, how the Israeli community responded when the soldiers were arrested for their behavior, and it's very like, you know, like it was they literally broke down the prison, like they came so violently to have those people removed from incarceration, because they also don't believe the Palestinians are people, right? And so, you know, I watched yesterday, and I don't know if Brianna Joy Gray is like having like a shift in like what she's deciding to talk about, but she had a very, very interesting conversation. It was, and I'm the only person whose name I'm remembering is Jill Stein, because that's the person who I was who I'm most familiar with, obviously. But it was also a reporter who posted a video from the West Bank of settlers beating a woman in her head with a bat. Yeah. And a Palestinian gentleman who was part of a collective that's working to try and get the UN to do something different. And I actually, while I should probably try and look it up, like while we're talking about it, because I was very, you know, I'm not a big fan of like the international law and the UN and all these things, because I feel like if anything has become very, very clear at this place in time, it is that these international forces are basically useless. And when you allow for a country like the US to have the veto power to stop anything from happening, they're also toothless, right? So there's all those things happening. But what Jill Stein brought up on the show is that the UN is actually like the body of the UN has the ability to navigate around the Security Council. And they have to have 2/3 of the vote to do it. And I don't remember which, I think it was South Africa was the last time that this thing was enacted, right? To stop the apartheid in South Africa. Right. I think, y'all don't quote me. I'm just, you know, I was making an apple cobbler last night and listening listening to Brianna Joy Gray. So, and so I thought that was very interesting. But the Palestinian gentleman who was on spoke so, I mean, I have a really hard time listening to things because I feel so emotionally overwhelmed by the fact that I can't do anything to stop the death and the torture of the Palestinian people, right? I can't do anything to stop military forces from invading Haiti and doing what they're doing. I can't do anything to help my own people of Jamaica who are now trying to come out from underwater. I can't do anything to stop children from dying in the Congo because we need cell phones. Like, I feel very useless at times. And when I listen to Palestinians speak on speak on these things and recognize, like, if a Palestinian is saying to me, listen, we recognize that these world forces, like, this is all madness, but we have to try every single thing that we can try in order to stop the death. Right. So I'm like, all right, let's go. Let me look it up. And I don't know if there was something else you wanted to pull up, but while I'll try and see if I can find it before we end. But but it's a very, like, there's actually at this point something that can be done. Of course, the international forces are going to be the ones that have to do it because the US is out. Like, if the UN, if the general body of the UN allows this thing to happen, right? The US cannot participate because we are complicit in the genocide. Right? Only the forces who are not complicit in the genocide are allowed to participate in the stopping of the genocide, which I actually think is definitely what should be happening. But so I'm very interested in that work and this vote that's going to come up soon. And I did not realize until last night that part of the reason the US government pulled the visiting visa for the Colombian president is because when he made that statement about supporting an international force to go into Palestine, that was actually him attempting to enact this vote that the UN is able to do because they gave Israel 1 year to cut the shit.
Got it.
And that was the 1 year marker. And so now you have other countries, like, so this is why all of a sudden there's this peace plan, right? That needs to go in because he's trying to circumvent the UN voting on supporting Palestine in this way. So these are the things that are going on, like the international legal level of things that most of us really are like, these people are so full of shit. But I will say, like, if they can get this done, like, I certainly will not be the person to be mad because the UN actually did something that was useful on behalf of the Palestinian people, right? Like, I'm definitely not going to be the person who does that. But it is, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that, like, it's really important that we, like, not trivialize. I think our society, like, tries to make all of this violence, like this immense amount of violence and, like, human suffering. It tries to make it normal, right? And we see the way the media has, done that. The mainstream media has done that, try to normalize all of this, try to desensitize us. But it is important that we, like, not, neither kind of, like, look away or lose track of that, but also, like, don't that we are also human beings, right? And like that we're having like a human reaction. Like that is appropriate. You know, like it is appropriate to feel the way we feel, given this massive amount of like human suffering. I am also there with you. Like I often feel very helpless, and incredibly frustrated. And the only thing that mitigates that is being an organization for me, right? And I would recommend, that's what I know that's what we always come back to, right? Like join a revolutionary organization, right? And allow for that to kind of help direct your work, right? Because at the end of the day, like we're not going to do this stuff as individuals, like that is not, it's just not possible, right? These systems are
Right.
far too large, far too entrenched, to be able to do something like that. So I think we need to, very much double down, and be a part of radical organizations, and also it allows you to like have a community, not be by yourself, right? And like when you on those days when you do feel like you're going crazy because you're like, am I the only one seeing this thing, right, or reacting in this way, right? This is a community, that can be a community that can not just help you not feel that way, right, because they are also feeling the same way, but help you kind of do something productive.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not immediately what we would all want, which is to immediately stop this from happening, right?
Right.
So yeah, man. I saw a comment earlier, and I can't go back and find it. I think it was from Esme, who was just kind of saying like, how you guys read all these like difficult books? Like it's very frustrating, makes you so angry, right? Absolutely, right. I mean, if I were reading Tip of the Spear by myself, I don't know how long it would have taken me to get through it, But because I was doing it as a part of an organization, doing it with the responsibility of my organization to like to actually read it and to like summarize it and to present it, that's the only reason I got through it and was able to do it in the way that I did. Otherwise, it would have taken me forever, and I would have kind of like, I know exactly when I would have put that book down, and I might not, and I don't know when I would have come back to it,
Yeah, I mean, so I've read Tip of the Spear twice. I read it the first time because Ori was coming on, and so I read it, and then I read it the second time because I wrote a book review on it, and so I had to read it again. It was no less painful the second time than it was the first time. And I agree. I wish I was able to do study groups for the amount of books that I have to read. Like it's almost, I'd never get through them because of the pacing with which I have to read.
Sure.
So it's rough. And then I get jacked up. Like I joined a study group on material, oh my God, why am I blanking on dialectic materialism. And sometimes like I was good for a couple of weeks and then I haven't been for a few weeks because it's just been so chaotic, like in my house, right? So I'm like missing chapters in conversation because I just can't get to the meeting, but I do need to, I need to get back to that. I just got a copy of Sexuality Beyond Consent, which is and we're gonna have a conversation on exigent sadism, which is a term that I had never even heard of until Lara Sheehy brought it up to me, because we were talking about something like that to me is like very commonsensical, and she was like, have you ever heard this term? Like, that's what this is. And so now I have the book, and now they're going to come on so we can talk about it. But I have to read the book before, a week from Saturday. So I don't really have time. Like, I can't wait for the study group. I wish I could though, because it is definitely better to read in a group. 100%. 100% better to read in a group. And Leah, it's exigent sadism is the term. It's a fascinating psychoanalysis. So I'm very excited actually to dig into this. But I found the, just real quick so that I don't forget. I did find so this Pingo portal is one of the Palestinian gentleman who's on the show, is the person, he's part of this, like this organization. and they are the group. It's the network of NGOs that are calling for this international protection. And so I'll drop this in the chat so people can read a little more about it. This group, hold on. This Uniting for Peace group is the group that Jill Stein is a part of. That they're pushing to try and get the UN to push this vote forward. So, you know, I'll be interested to see like what happens next. I'm not 100% sure like how this is all going to play out like long term for anybody. But the UDI is the Palestinian gentleman who was on that Bad Faith episode, and Jasper Nathaniel is the journalist who posted this video because he was in the West Bank, and there is an entire town in the West Bank that is bordered by olive trees that they, you know, that they, it's part of their, you know, it's what they do. Like they process the olives, right?
Right.
The town or the community or I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying my best to explain this without jacking it up too much. But apparently it is like 90% Palestinian American. So these are people who have American passports and live part-time in the US and part-time in Palestine because they come to deal with the olive farms, right?
Yeah.
It has, according to the conversation they were having yesterday, this area has been relatively like unharassed by the settlers, right? But they have started to creep along. Right? Because of course they want to take the olive trees. And this area is a very wealthy area of the West Bank, right? And for the settlers, like, why do the Palestinians have it?
Of course.
And so, you know, here's this journalist who is reporting on this particular area in the West Bank. And I'll be honest, he was explaining the West Bank. I'm assuming it's the West Bank. I don't know if it's like some in-between area. I'm not fully 100% clear on the geography of it all. I do know for 100% because they said it directly on the show. It is 90% people who are able to travel between because they also have US passports. And the settlers have decided that this is an area that they should have. And so they slowly, you know, they've been slowly harassing and creeping in. And this journalist was with a group of people. They were trying to leave the olive farms, and they were surrounded by settlers. He attempted to get help from whatever IOF soldier was in the area. He made it very clear, like, I can't say it for certain, but I'm certain that the settlers and the IOF soldiers were working together. They were surrounded, cars were burned, people were beat up. He was like, I was running because all I could imagine was like, they're going to catch me and I'm never going to go home. Right. And in the end, it's all, you know, when Udi, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, the Palestinian gentleman spoke, he said, you know, what I want people to understand is, like, this may be unique for that particular group of Palestinian Americans, but this is Palestinian life every day. right? This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is every day that we are abused, we are attacked, we are stolen from. Like, this is every day. And I just, you know, I really just, I want it to stop. And I'm so removed from it, right? But then at the same time, I've become very over these past few years of me really kind of like investing the energy into talking to more people and getting to know more people. I've made very good friends with Palestinians, right? With people who are here now, whose families are still in Palestine. Shout out to Samantha Youssef. I don't know if she'll watch this or not, but like I talk to Sam multiple times a week now, right? And her family is still in Palestine. She still has family in Palestine. And so, you know, like Lara Sheehy is never going to get rid of me. Her family is still in Lebanon, right? So, although I'm removed, I feel it's very close to me. And I was telling Samantha a story the other day and I sent her a picture of me in 1993 wearing my keffiyeh that was made in Syria. Because in the mid 90s in New York, everybody had a keffiyeh. Like that was a thing, right? Yeah. Like everyone had a keffiyeh. And so, you know, so there's that. When I first started working at Fairfax High School in Virginia, we had a family of Palestinians who had fled Palestine. This was 2001, right? And so like none of this is information that I'm like shocked by, right? Like I'm not like, oh man, like this is all new. This all started on October 7th. I'm very clear of the historical basis of this. And I've learned a lot more. Like I read 100 years in Palestine because I wanted to understand a lot more of the history, right? Right. But and then when you really consider that it's all connected, right? Like when you consider that the same technology that is being used to surveil people in Atlanta, the projects in Brooklyn, right? Like it's the same technology that's being used in Palestine. And when you understand that your police is fortified by military equipment that was used to destroy Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan, and right, like that people still are unwilling to, unable to, haven't thought about it yet, whatever, that the connection has not been made yet of how much we're all oppressed by the same forces. You know what I mean? Like, it's exhausting, yo. It's exhausting.
It is. And it's disturbing how, like, for so long, the conversation has been the same, right? Like, I mean, you know, I think like you, I also was exposed to this like very, very early. I did this international law and organizations program in undergrad for a semester where I got to travel to all of these like UN bodies in Europe, right? And before that, I was interested in international law. After that, I was like, oh, this isn't a real thing. You know, like this doesn't actually exist. And if I want to, back then in my thought process, I was like, if I want to have any impact on this, I would probably need to do it from the United States, given the geopolitical kind of situation, like how this actually works. And when I was teaching in Japan, I met one of my students was Palestinian. And we did these, this was like, and in retrospect, yeah, like very, very liberal, right? Like it was this, it is the first international boarding school in Japan, started by like what essentially are the like elites in Japan, right? These are people who were like very well established in Japan, came to go to Harvard or Stanford and like come back and then like, you know, do more work in Japan. Very well-meaning people, right? But at the end of the day, kind of like fundamentally not really understanding, you know, and definitely not having our politics, right? But one of the things that we did was like we would have these kids come from all over the world, right? From various different socioeconomic backgrounds, and like give country presentations. And like this Palestinian kid came and gave a presentation, man, and it was like incredibly powerful. It was so fascinating to see the kind of the comparison, right? Like there were these kids, we had these, very like wealthy, well-off kids from like the United States who come and give these kind of fun presentations about like, oh yeah, this is our culture, blah blah blah. We'd have other kids give presentations about how like they had to like go hunting, right? With like, there were these kids from like I think the Fiji Islands who would like go hunting with slingshots and like kill bats and eat those, right? And like that was like a kind of a shocking thing for like some of the other kids who had never even done their laundry, right? Let alone hunting, right? And then of course, right, you have the experience of this Palestinian kid sharing what it's like to live in under occupation and like what his family members had gone through, right? And like it was a very kind of powerful, kind of life-changing thing for all of us, including myself, right? That kafia that you see in the background, like he gave that to me, right? Like this one, right? Like that's to date almost like like the only kafia that I own, right? And then of course, I've mentioned that I've trained in Muay Thai and kickboxing and martial arts, right? My trainer in Philadelphia is Palestinian, and like created this because again his politics are different, but like because of his national identity, because of the experience of Palestinian people, right? That became like this kind of this space for like Black and brown colonized people to kind of come together, right? And like it was very different than traditional spaces like that are full of cops, that are full of reactionary ideas. Not to say that we didn't have that. I don't want to say it's perfect, right? But because of his background, right, like that, it fundamentally changed the kind of nature of the space. So having always had, like having for a long time, I've had Palestinians that I've been close to, right, that have been educating me, and then also my own education, right? Like it does make it real in a way that I know that it's not for a lot of people,
right?
But it all, for us, like it makes us like, like these are my friends' family members, right? You know what I mean? That are like getting treated this way. Yeah, and it's incredibly devastating. So yeah, I completely feel you on that, right? Like, and it doesn't. By no means is this what we're saying. Am I saying, right, that like it's about your personal relationships and like that should define what your politics are? Right? Just communicating, right? That like this is a very real thing for me through the people that I know,
right,
and the people that I care about and love,
right. It's not just you watching it on TV,
right? Yeah, right. It's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so, on the internet, since mainstream TV pretends like none of this is happening, so
that's real. Back to
yeah.
I'm going to say was like, this is why spaces like this are so important, because there are not a lot of spaces anywhere that have, that bring a black radical analysis to these kinds of topics, that tries to talk about things that mainstream media is not talking about. And like, we're only able, my position, we're only able to do that because of the strength of like, not just the people that are trying to do this project, right, and start it, but also the chat, right? Like we have, this chat is full of people who are active in their lives, right? Like as organizers, as educators, as, many things, right? Like coming together and sharing their input and their insight. And like, that's how this works. Right. And through, I think like it says a lot about this channel that we have been able to get to like 500K, right? Given everything we know about how things are demonetized.
50.
I was like, 50K. One day it'll be 500. But yeah, given the way the algorithm works, the way we're suppressed, like I that's a humongous feat, right? Ricky.
I just know you're like, damn, she was still here.
This is what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Your comrades will never let you.
Don't slip. All right, so listen, everybody's telling me to let you cook, like let you do it, talk it into existence. I'm all for it. Yes, please. Yes.
Oh my God, yeah. The idea of having 500K people and then like this chat going from like 198 to like, I don't know, in the high, 300, 400, 500, I think it would be impossible to follow. Like,
Listen,
yeah. So.
I know this. I get so much information, and I know like in the Discord, it can be for the folks in the Discord, it can be like a little disheartening because there's not a lot of folks from the actual channel who go in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go in because I'm, one, like that's where I was. Like I didn't start on this channel as someone who was like brought in to be on the show, right? Like I was watching and in the chat and all these things, and I get a lot of information from folks on Discord. Like when people write, can y'all talk to this person? I make an attempt often. Like I reach out to way more people than we have on because sometimes folks just don't answer. But I'll try. Like I'll make the attempt to bring somebody on if someone in the chat or in Discord says like, can you reach out to these people? And I've gotten a lot of guests because people are like, yo, can you bring this person on? It's a repeat, Elon.
It's not live, Elon. This is a rerun. Oh my God.
Did you end up doing the show just with Air Doctor on Tuesday? Is that what was going on? Because I have not gone back yet to find out how y'all
for the first hour
y'all for real called me live on a stream to try and call me out when I actually literally gave fair warning that I wasn't gonna make it.
Ear Doctor called you live on stream. Don't be saying y'all. I was not involved in that. But I did feel bad. I did feel bad later on because I was like, first off, if it were not for this, I would not be up that early in the first place. certainly not checking my email at 7 a.m. So I did feel bad after we got off the show, and I looked and I was like, yeah, Renee definitely sent this email. Like, let us all know. And I still let that silliness happen. So I apologize for that.
It's all good. And it was only because, as you might have noticed, I sent that email at 2:30 in the morning. And I was like, I can't function at 8 a.m. Like I'm gonna be useless. And then the people were coming back to do more stuff at the house. So it was gonna be chaos inside the house. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. So but listen, this is what happens. Like every now and again, I end up on 3 times in 1 week, and then like this is just what happens. So you've been fully indoctrinated. You've been fully embraced. When you start getting 8 o'clock calls in the morning saying, what are you doing? Can you help?
Yes. I feel
you are fully part of the family.
The love, and also don't want y'all to get used to this because as Elon, no, my fault. As Elon is saying, oh my God, see, look at this. On accident, I'm highlighting other people calling me out. Oh my goodness, the chat is going too fast. But as Elon is saying, yes, I do have other priorities, and I do need to get to those. So to that end, right? If you're in the DC area this weekend, American University is having a public anthropology conference that they will have at That will be at MLK Library, and we have Back DC along with our member organization, our Solidarity member organization, Diaspora Palante Collective will be doing a presentation. Pan-African Community Action will be doing a presentation, I believe, right after. And then I think right after that, Malcolm X Grassroots Movement chapter in DC will be also doing a presentation. So if you're, it's a free conference. If you're in town, please come through. We'll be talking about, our presentation will be on continuing our Arms of Empire series, where we're talking about gentrification, how that ties into the military-industrial complex in the city, how it's alive in the DMV, and then bring it up to date to talk about how the occupation is related to all of this. I know
saying there's a week of action, November 15th to the 23rd.
Yes, week of action to support Venezuela against the egregious attacks and aggressive attacks from the United States. So week of action will be happening from the November 15th to the 23rd. Keep an eye out for that. There'll be lots of things for people to plug into, and that'll be happening across the country. So there'll be something in your area for the Venezuela week.
Yeah, where there's something happening in Jersey this weekend that I gotta get back with my GP&J crew and figure out what I forgot to do that I was supposed to do.
Yep.
So I can get back on top of it.
And this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. And Baltimore will have a town hall at Payne Memorial Church on November 15th. So tap into that, right? There's always something to tap into. That I know BAP is always doing something, so there's always something to tap into. Please don't let my inability to call it all I'm not Erica. I don't have it all at the front of my brain at all times. But please plug in, tap in. What have you got going on, Renee, that you want to highlight?
So we tomorrow we're gonna have Andre Easton on, who is going to be running to replace Richie Torres, and I'm actually really excited to talk to him. He is a PSL comrade, so we'll have a little dive about New York politics and what he's trying to do. So I'm really looking forward to that. But before he comes on, we're actually gonna have some BAP comrades on, because there's a anti-colonialism presentation happening on the 10th. So they're gonna come talk about that and set that up so folks know how to sign up and participate in that presentation. So there's that happening. I feel like there's always 8,000 things going on at once, but that's what we're up to tomorrow. And I'm actually really, really looking forward to this conversation with Andre. So that'll be that.
Awesome.
Awesome. Oh, nice. Ricky just hooked me up. I appreciate you, Ricky. All right. Listen. All right. Well, Evan, we did it. We held it down. It was all because, although I know the chat will entertain themselves for this 2-hour window,
they will. They definitely
really will. They would have been fun. They would have been fine without us. But I just in my brain, I could not resolve starting a rerun like 15 minutes into the time frame of like when the show was supposed to go. I couldn't do it. So I appreciate you for taking the call, Evan. This was actually fun. You're gonna need to come on a Saturday, because we need to do a whole, like, Evan was on the path of like the military industrial complex as an engineer, and was like, oh nah, we can't do that. Like we need that whole story. Like I also, like, Lawrence has this whole crazy backstory that I also need to get him on. But we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna do an Evan show. I think that'll be fun to do.
I'll do a panel. I'll do a group. I don't want to be.
How you gonna do a panel on you?
I don't want to be the focus. But I will share along.
All right. So here. This is what we'll do. You find someone else from your circle who was also on the path and became enlightened and chose another path, and you can share the space so that it's not a full spotlight on you. But I feel like we need to have this conversation about people being led down the line of quote unquote engineering. And how murky that whole path is, and where you could actually end up. And I really actually personally would love to know, like, how you ended up not, like, what was the thing that you were like, oh, fuck this, I ain't doing this thing. Like, I'm very, I'd love to have that conversation. So we'll get there. Don't worry, it won't be anytime soon. We got guests for like the next 4 or 5 weeks. So you got a
I
little time.
guess, I'm really looking forward to the whenever we do that anime conversation. I'll be ready for that.
Oh, listen, we have one more episode of this Attack on Titans, and then we're gonna start the next. My son is all fired up that I'm gonna watch this thing with him. He's super excited, and he was like, we should like talk about things before, and like he's got all kinds of stuff. So y'all might actually, if it works out, y'all might actually get clips of my son talking about anime because he's all over it.
I can imagine, man. If I could have gotten my mom to watch anime with me when I was his age, it could have all been different.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all. Peace. As Jared always says to those willing to fight for it. Evan, I appreciate you. Chat, undefeated as always, appreciate you. And I don't know how this is going to happen when I hit end stream. It could be anything that happens, but peace. We'll see y'all later.
We did our best. Peace, y'all.
Remix. 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 Remix.